You're listening to the B&H Photography Podcast. For over 40 years, B&H has been the professional source for photography, video, audio, and more. For your favorite gear, news, and reviews, visit us at bnh.com or download the B&H app to your iPhone or Android device. Now here's your host, Alan Weitz.
We're proud to announce that the B&H Photography Podcast has been nominated for a 2016 Podcast of the Year award in the arts category. But the ultimate winner is determined by a tally of listener votes, so we really need you to vote for us. And unlike our local and national elections, you can actually go and vote for us numerous times, once a day, every day, until June 12th. So please go to thepodcastawards.com, scroll down to the arts category, and mark B&H Photography Podcast at the bottom of the page. Click listener or podcaster and submit. We cannot thank you enough for your support that has gotten us this far. I just want to remind everybody that we love doing these podcasts, and if you love listening to them, give us a tweet at BH Photo Video with the hashtag BH Photo Podcast, or email your thoughts and comments to us at podcast@bhphoto.com. Today we're going to have a lot of fun. It's going to be a gearhead kind of a show, and the topic today is, if you only had one camera, one lens, what would you reduce yourself to? And it's a lot of food for thought. Joining us today to speak about this topic are two members of the B&H chat team, Christina Smith and Andrea Ortado. Like all chat team members, Christina and Andrea are hardcore gearheads and photo enthusiasts. If you ever called with questions about a camera lens you purchased at B&H, there's a good chance that you spoke to either Christina or Andrea. They were probably the ones on the other side. And a box of donuts says that you got the answers that you were hoping to get. That said, let's start off talking about you guys. Christina, what's your background? How'd you get into photography?
My dad's a professional photographer, and I always used to joke that the reason why he has kids was for free assistance.
It's true.
That's
why we do it.
So I grew up schlepping camera equipment, changing lenses, changing film.
So you're a vet.
Yeah, so I guess with that background, it was hard not to sort of follow.
What did your dad shoot usually?
He shot a lot of sports. He used to shoot for Texaco also, and for Avis, the pro ski tours.
Oh, serious stuff.
Also
okay.
a lot of boating work. And
just like Ellen.
Wow, we have what to talk about. Okay. No, we
Did you travel with him? Did you travel with him?
yeah, all of our family vacations were hijacked photo assignments.
I did the same thing. Okay, I got it. Andrea, what about you? What's your story?
Far less interesting. I didn't like photography till I went to school for graphic design, and then I had to take a photography course, and I was like, oh, just kidding. This is probably what I need to do.
Yeah.
So, and I switched. So ever since college, I mean, it started just film, black and white darkroom stuff, and then I interned with some photographers who taught me color processing and color stuff, and then started working retail for a variety of camera stores and got into digital, and it's kind of all snowballed.
Tell us a little bit about chat, because we see the results of your guys' work, and it's always great. I mean, these long conversations where you kind of guide people through their decision-making process and usually end up giving them, I don't know, more or better than what they ever expected. So how's it work? Is that too broad of a question? Or how?
People type us questions.
People
and
type you questions?
Type answers back.
Do you have regulars? Do you have people that kind of come to you
There's a couple
often?
regulars that, we
Frequent
can,
flyers.
Yeah.
Frequent flyers?
As we like to call them.
Yeah.
I mean,
Do they ask for you guys specifically, or
sometimes if you kind of make a connection with somebody and they're in there a lot, they'll be like, oh, hey, it's this person. Can you transfer me to them? But,
Right.
And well, all of us can answer questions basically within our specialty. I mean, I really know Nikon products. Drea knows Canon extremely well.
Do you have any idea what the question is before you even start? I mean, is there some kind of
No.
a head? So it's just blind. You just use someone's photo.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fun. Well, I guess it's like dealing with customers. You never know what the next person online is going to be looking for.
I imagine most of the questions are pretty entry level, basic.
Yeah,
but do you ever get somebody who's well knowledgeable but really wants to refine their answers?
Yeah, definitely. I mean,
both.
like you said, most of them I think are just kind of like, what camera should I get? What does this mean? What do I do? Which is fine. Like that's what we're there for.
Right.
But I occasionally get like higher knowledge level people, or you just want, and that's also a fun conversation to have because you can kind of throw terms around you wouldn't necessarily be able to on a more entry level.
I know, Christina, you handled something from one of our recent podcasts on a lens adapters.
Yeah.
And it was a question about somebody who had these 1950s vintage Voigtlander lenses with some kind of obscure mount, and he wanted to use them on new cameras. And we were all scratching our heads. So some of the stuff is pretty eclectic.
You do get a lot of people who come in with a lot of older lenses and want to be able to adapt it to the mirrorless cameras.
Yeah.
But sometimes, people actually know the camera that they had used the lens on, and sometimes it's, I was in Germany, I was in a thrift store, and I bought a camera, so I bought a lens. So now what do I need to use to adapt it?
Have you ever gotten the question, what one camera should I buy?
All the time. That's like a daily thing.
It is.
Yeah.
And what would be a normal answer?
What do you shoot?
What do you shoot? What do you want to take pictures of?
Okay. Yeah, let's walk us down a little bit. Like what's the path you walk people down?
Well, a lot of times it starts with, what do you shoot, or what do you want to shoot? Or even if you just start out with what camera the customer already has and what limitations they're finding with that camera, you're able to refine, what they need to move towards. And then, of course, budget does come into it, because while we would all love that perfect camera, sometimes that perfect camera...
I try to get that kind of the budget question out in the first line of questioning with, what are you shooting with it? And then finally, what range are you in? So I know where to look.
Yeah, it also doesn't mean or infer that the solution to all problems costs more money.
Exactly.
Sometimes it can cost far less than what they might expect. It's going to cost me $300, $400, $500, and you find it's $129 or $69, and it's perfect.
And depending on budget constraints, you sometimes just have to get a little bit more creative with the solution.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You don't need a waterproof case. We have high-quality Ziploc bags here. Just don't dive as long or as deep, and you're fine. So today's topic is interesting. One camera for a year or something like that. I've thought about it often, and there's so many options. My first knee-jerk reaction is I want something like a Nikon D900, a little super zoom that's hand-sized that goes from 24 millimeter to 80,000 millimeters, something, or 2,000.
Infinity.
It's ridiculous for range. It's something like 82 power zoom. And yes, that will basically enable you to take pretty much anything that you need to see. Okay, you might have issues under low light, and there's no guarantee you can hand hold it to anything over 1,000 millimeter equivalent, but there are workarounds. But sometimes that's not the case. Sometimes a fixed focal length lens could be a better solution for it, again, depending on what your needs are, what you want to do. So
well, let's start with this idea that this is a camera for a multiple range of needs. That's kind of what we're looking at today for the sake of this conversation. And I would imagine you guys, your first question would always be, what are your needs? What do you want to shoot? But for this, let's pretend we want to shoot everything.
I do find sometimes people think that they need something that'll do everything, but if you spend more time talking with them, they really don't need something that does everything. Yeah. They're actually very specific needs that they have.
Mm-hmm.
For example, like the P900, that would probably be the last camera I would ever want to choose. And I get the idea of having this wide set of possibilities with your focal range, but I never shoot zoom, almost never shoot zoom. And even like the speed of starting up the camera and getting the lens in the place and all those things would be just drawbacks right off the bat.
No, I agree. I currently don't own any zooms except for my one point and shoot. I happen to prefer that, but again, it's the same thing. Oh, gee, I only have one lens, so it has to be a zoom. But no, it doesn't have to be a zoom.
Or I think with those cameras are great. Say you're going on a safari, you don't have people to carry all your bags, and you can't afford really expensive telephoto, prime, Canon, or Nikon lenses. Instead of trying to worry about, okay, am I going to try to use a teleconverter with a lens that's not supposed to be converted and not have autofocus and still not get the reach I want, when I'm not going to be using this for professional, I'm not going to be blowing these up to make murals. I just kind of want somebody to put on my Facebook page to be like, hey, I was here. Mm-hmm. I think those super zoom cameras actually are quite nice.
Mm-hmm. After we were John and I were kicking this conversation around for a while, different things, we were taking notes. And I kept coming back to, I don't want to zoom, like we just established. I'd rather have a decent-sized camera with a large, high-resolution sensor, even with a fixed focal length lens on it, that I can crop into. So here's an example. If you took, say, a Sony CyberShot, the RX1R2, that has a 42 megapixel full frame sensor and a 35 millimeter f2 lens. So yeah, you have a camera with a fixed semi-wide angle lens that's fast, which means you have your autofocus speed, low light abilities, but also because it's so high resolution, you could crop into that and get a medium telephoto perspective and still have a good quality image, even for print, let alone for going online. So there's a lot of options on that, a lot of options.
Other than budget, which you mentioned, and what you're going to shoot, I mean, we kind of outlined some factors in this decision. And the first one that I wrote down would be, what level of image control do you want?
Mm-hmm.
Do you need an interchangeable lens, all right, zoom or prime, and what kind of exposure control do you want? Those are kind of the three factors that I would start off asking myself first. What do you guys think?
I mean, I don't know if it's along the same lines, but I think one of my favorite cameras that I traveled with was probably just the AE1 with a 50 millimeter prime. I thought it was great just for getting lost in a city, and also having that prime lens just forcing me to view the city through a certain angle of view and having to create different images just with that constraint.
Mm-hmm.
Though when I've traveled with, and that's when I've been traveling alone, but when I've traveled with people who are sort of, your time isn't your own, you don't really have that time to get lost in the city and just go out and shoot, where you might be spending 5 minutes here, 5 minutes there because you're doing what the group wants to do. I'd almost rather have a point and shoot. You don't really necessarily need that level of control if you're just taking snapshots and you don't actually have the time to shoot.
Now, do you like the A1 because it's film or just the simplicity of the camera?
Maybe it's just the fact that it was the simplicity of the camera. You don't really have to think about anything except for, okay, get the exposure right.
So based on that, then you can buy essentially any of the compact DSLRs that are on the market with a 50-1.4, 50-1.8 lens. That would be equivalent.
And also, I loved the feel of the camera.
Okay,
and
that's important.
Knowing that the camera was also only, I mean, at that point when I had it, it was quite old, so it only cost so much. So if I did get mugged, I wasn't worried about, how I was going to replace it.
That's a factor. I always kind of consider how replaceable or how valuable to you is that camera. And are you willing to lose it, let it get wet, drop it? And I always, with lenses especially, I think that way, because I know how I treat my cameras, and it's pretty poorly. So, I don't want to spend too much knowing that I just might break it.
And I think I just decided I don't want to buy any used lenses from you.
Absolutely do not buy any. And don't loan me your cameras either. Okay. Andrea, what would be your, the first thing you would think about?
The level of manual control.
Manual control.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I'd want an auto mode. I don't know if I'm dedicated enough to go straight to film just because I have to process it and actually do something when I get home with it. But
well, also traveling, just keep that in mind. With film, traveling with film is really problematic.
Well, I mean, we can go back to this later, but even choosing film, that's a decision you've already made.
Yeah.
That would, I don't know how to phrase this, but especially nowadays, that's almost a radical decision. And would you really go with the film camera if you only had one camera, let's say? Forever?
It definitely limits your parameters. I mean, low light shooting.
Forever so permanent.
I know.
But you're also talking about prime. But also, I would never travel with just one camera. I'd always at least have a point and shoot somewhere in my bag, because when you travel with one camera, that camera's going to break. If you travel with two cameras, they'll be fine during the entire trip.
Murphy's Law.
Yeah. So I would always have some sort of backup. So if one camera does end up malfunctioning, you at least have a backup.
I'm sorry, you're out of the podcast.
Sorry.
No, I'm a gambler, man. I'm taking one and I'm running.
Just tuck it into the socks. Just bury it. Don't let anyone know about that.
Yeah.
First of all, just about any camera you get, automation is there. I mean, you do have program or whatever they want to call it. But however, not every camera offers manual controls. And to me, that would be important too, to be able to know I could turn everything off, go in and really take over control. Or if it didn't have manual, it had enough overrides that I could basically outthink the camera and make it do what I wanted to do. So that's important.
That's for sure.
Something that crossed my mind too, that as they're not, again, no one camera is going to do everything for you, and no matter what you decide to do, there's going to be some kind of a compromise or trade-off. That's a given. But when going over all of the options, the little rugged, the tough point and shoot cameras came to mind. And just like the names say, they're waterproof, shockproof. I mean, you could really take them and trash them. The lenses have little glass portals in front of them, so there's no little metal blades to get jammed when you put it back in your pocket. And they're made to take it. The limitation is they go from wide to short telephoto. I think 140 millimeter equivalent is as telephoto as you get, but they go as like wide as 28, 25, even 21 millimeter equivalent. So you have a nice range for street shooting. And again, it can get soaked. You can drop it in the mud. You can drop it wherever you want. You know, it can get banged around, and they're good. They hold up well. So to me, that would be an option. I would look at the rugged point and shoots.
Yeah, I guess also just deciding what camera to go with. It's where are you going? If you're going to, was it the Lindblad expeditions that B&H is associated with? We get a lot of customers coming in asking about, what do I bring? This is a once-in-a-lifetime trip. I'm going to the Galapagos. And that's when I would, if they don't want to go in for getting a housing for a camera they already have, or if they are going to be shooting a lot of underwater photography, take one of the ruggeds. If you happen to drop it in the water, you're fine. You can get one of those floaty wrist straps on it so it won't sink. And if you're going to be on a Zodiac going back and forth between islands and the boat, you don't have to worry about it being splashed or a dry
Or
bag.
even having heavy humidity. If you're going to be going to places that have just extreme humidity, those are good cameras for that.
I've used a lot of those cameras, and I love them. And if I were to go with a point and shoot as my one camera, I probably would go with one of the Olympus T4, I think they have, or TG4 now.
TG4 or the TG870 if you need a wide angle, something like that.
Because I know that the TG4 has RAW capability and some element, I think aperture control. But the one thing I did notice though was the heat from the battery itself would often fog up the LCD screen.
I never had that. That's interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. That's another reason I don't travel with you.
Yeah. But in general, I love those cameras. And based on what I said earlier, I tend to kind of trash my gear so they can survive. We haven't jumped to this general idea of point and shoot versus interchangeable lens. Shouldn't we start there? I mean,
that would be. We already started. We can continue there.
Continue with that.
Yeah. What do you think about that? I mean, would you see? Again, here's another thing. Once you introduce interchangeable lenses, which lens are you taking with you? Because remember, it's one camera, one lens. So if you could take one camera but take 5 lenses, then we already defeated everything. So one camera that was, because I asked around, and one of the suggestions I got was actually pretty interesting, and that was the Pentax KS2. And you can get that with a compact 18 to 50 millimeter kit lens that folds in, and it's weatherproof. And that's a real small camera. It's like the size of a Canon Rebel, one of the real small DSLRs. You do have the option of interchangeable lenses, and the lens that come with it, it's a wide to short telephoto zoom that folds up to like an inch, a little over an inch thick. So it really is compact and easy to carry around, and you can take the lens off and put longer lenses on at other times. You have the option. It could be a little backup if you have the rest of the Pentax system. So that's an interesting option, and you have a quote-unquote real camera.
Well, no, if you're going to go with a smaller size body, like a mirrorless, that's a little bit bigger than a point and shoot, but you have a fixed, fast, bright, beautiful lens on it, that's a whole different story. Like, even if you're shooting an SLR, I still prefer primes. I used to always have like the 24-70, 70-200, and then I started shooting with weddings with the second shooting for a photographer, and she was all primes. And then I was like, what have I been doing with my life? Clearly, for me, a prime lens on an SLR body, or if I can get a fixed on a pretty fixed lens on a Fuji.
And do you have issues with DSLRs when they get bigger? Like, would you prefer a compact DSLR or APS-C necessarily, or it doesn't bother you?
No, not at all. I mean, I shoot with Mark IIIs at this point.
So no issues then with size. I mean, when you think of the one camera, a lot of people, and I'm sure you hear this all the time, is I want something small. I want something that's not going to weigh me down. Is that not much of an issue for you?
It's a trade-off. It's like, well, yeah, you can get something small, but depending on where your budget is, you're trading off quality for size at some point. So it's like, how much do you want to weigh the quality you're going to get out of that little thing versus how much you'd get by, carrying a little bit more.
Yeah, but then you have the other argument too. There are some full frame mirrorless cameras that are remarkably small.
Yeah.
Okay. But you could also put a 600 millimeter f4 lens on it, so there goes the compacting. The truth is, any of these small cameras, especially the mirrorless ones, that they brought the size and weight factors down remarkably. If you want to maintain that light, narrow profile, you have to get a pancake lens or something short. As soon as you start going into the 24-70 2.8s, I mean, you've just defeated what you're doing to a certain extent.
Well, I think originally Sony was only going to keep it at f4 for their zoom lenses and the FE mount because of the size factor, but then they found enough people were switching over to the A7
Everybody
bodies,
else made a 2.8 version.
And they
yeah.
wanted everyone wanted the 2.8, so they realized actually at that point people weren't caring about the size. They just wanted the 2.8.
And you're
That's a
still
good
saving on weight with the bodies. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, I'd have no problem putting a giant lens on my little mirrorless camera and shooting like that because I'm still getting the quality I want that I'd get at a DSLR. Yeah, it's still a little heavier, but it's still a lot lighter than it would be on a big DSLR.
No two ways about it. Sure. Yeah. At the end of the day, you feel the difference.
Yeah.
That's absolutely the case.
So, Andrea, would you at this stage of the game, you would be going with the DSLR as your one camera?
Not necessarily.
Oh, good. I like it. Wait to the end to let us know.
We're going to take a short break and then come back with some more talk about one camera forever.
We hope you're enjoying this edition of the B&H Photography Podcast. Send us a tweet at BH Photo Video, hashtag BH Photo Podcast.
Welcome back. We're going to continue our conversation here with Christina and Andrea and John, and talk about. Let's go back to portability. A lot of the things we've spoken about today keep coming back to point and shoots, and for size and portability and ease of use. And there's also our phones, which are essentially real point and shoots with limitations. When we talk about point and shoot, let's talk about that a little bit more about as far as what are we defining it, because I always like telling people that every camera we sell here is a point and shoot, because all of them can put on program and autofocus and you push the button and it's a point and shoot. But a lot of cameras give you a lot more control than that. And there's also an issue of small, meaning could you slip it into your pocket, because we have a lot of small cameras that will not necessarily fit into your pants pocket. If you have a bulky coat or cargo pants, maybe you can get away with the super zoom. But I think it was interesting when going over the options of what we had here in the store, I found there were a whole bunch of cameras that have 10 power zooms, anywhere from the average like 25 millimeter equivalent wide angle to 250 millimeter, which is pretty respectable. And we have 30 powers, which take you from wide angle to even longer telephoto. And they will fit into your pocket. A lot of these 10 power, 12 power, even 15 power zooms are pocketable. Once you go more than that, all of a sudden the lens starts getting bigger and it becomes more of a DSLR kind of a profile and a little bit bulkier. So what are your thoughts on that? I mean, we do have options. You can get a camera that will give you a lot of control and a good zoom range, and it will fit in your pocket.
Well, there are also the ones that are a little bit more compact that do have super zooms. The Sony HX90V is still pretty compact and it has a 24 to 720 millimeter, 35 millimeter equivalent optical zoom.
And that's pretty long, and you have to be, even with image stabilization, you have to steady yourself to get a sharp picture with that. So that's a lot. That 750 is a lot. I've handheld 600, and that's crazy.
I think it also depends on how still are your hands. I've gone to concerts with one of my friends who works in the store, and we're in the nosebleeds, and she can have that zoomed all the way out and still get a crisp photo.
Really?
Oh, okay. Under low light.
Yeah.
So we're getting pretty good now with these little cameras. They're not just...
I mean, the Sony, their sensor technology is fantastic.
And, of course, they're selling it to everybody else.
Yeah.
So.
Well, maybe not right now, but give it a couple more months and we'll see those sensors again.
Andrea, you earlier mentioned that you don't mind carrying a bulky camera around, but would it make a difference, let's say, between if you were going to go with a point and shoot that was, the quality was much better, one of the Sonys that we talked about earlier maybe, but yet it wouldn't fit in your pocket. You still have to wear it around your neck or in a bag or something like that. And there are disadvantages of that. I mean, in terms of even getting into your bag sometimes to get a quick shot or whatnot. So would a much smaller camera that just fits only in your pocket, that is basically like a second phone in terms of that, make any difference for you or not really?
Not really.
No?
I mean, I know I'm going to be shooting and I'm not like physically walking to the car or wherever we're doing. I'll just leave the camera out on my shoulder or around my neck or whatever. Like for me, it's a situation where it is where it is. Like, these are the pictures you want. This is what you need to do to get those pictures. So this is what you do.
Right.
Like, deal with it.
No need to hide. Yeah.
No.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about integrating into your systems and even post-processing and things like that. Would that make much of a difference when you're looking to your one camera? Like the ease of, I guess everything's pretty easy now. You just take out the memory card.
Yeah.
So there's not much to really talk about in that sense.
Well, I mean, it might make a difference whether or not you're deciding to upgrade to a 810 or a 5DS, whether or not your computer can handle that
handle
processing.
the sizes of the files.
Yeah.
How many
That's
hard
a,
drives
that's a
would you like to buy?
Nikon 810, not an 8x10 view camera.
No, yeah, sorry, Nikon D810.
Yes.
Yeah. No, but that's true. I mean, for a lot of people, there's no reason to get, cameras with these huge files.
Yeah, I mean,
Why?
Agree.
especially if you're shooting events and your clients expect to see the images the next day, you don't want to have to deal with those file sizes.
That's true. That's true. Yeah. Is RAW a capability a must for you guys?
Yeah.
Again, it depends on what I'm shooting.
No, actually,
I know.
You in that answer?
I know, I'm not allowed.
it depends on what camera I'm shooting, because
Yes,
there's some
it
cameras,
depends
like
on
the
what camera
Fujis,
I'm
I rarely ever shoot in RAW. Their JPEGs are so clean and so pretty that I don't even bother with it.
And also the Fujis, they have all the film profiles that you
know.
can play with,
Mm-hmm.
which, I mean, you obviously can't do RAW because
SDF for life.
Velvia. Sorry. And budgets? Can we go there now?
Here's an interesting thing, okay? When the Leica Q came out, it won the hearts of a lot of people around here, even though we can't afford it. Most of the people here cannot afford it. It was an amazing camera. It's built beautifully. It has Leica quality. Well, as soon as you pick it up, it's a solid machine. The lens is a 28 millimeter f1.7. It's a full frame. And I think it has a crop modes automatic to 35 and 50. Not that you can't do that down the line, but you could flip it in while you're shooting. And the camera's amazing, and the pictures are absolutely phenomenal. It has a 24 megapixel sensor. You can crop into it and pull good detail out from within it. And it costs well over $4,000, which puts it into, the dream category for most of us. And then this past week, I started playing around with the Fuji X70, Fujifilm X70, which is essentially the same camera. It's APS-C. It's about a third of the size of the Leica. It has a 28 millimeter equivalent, 17.5 millimeter lens, which is a 28 equivalent, f2.8. It's essentially a reduced size Leica Q as far as what it'll do. And the image quality is lovely, and it's $600 rather than over $4,000. And let's face it, there aren't really too many bad cameras out there these days. Some of them might make you bang your head against the wall trying to get them to work right, but the image quality from just about every camera this day is pretty darn good.
Yeah, but it also depends on whether or not you know what you're doing with that camera.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the camera is only as good as the person behind it taking the photo.
Yeah.
And also the lighting available, because light has to pass through the lens before it can reach the sensor.
So back to control. Well, another
how
question
do you,
about budget would be, you invest money in a camera and you expect it to last.
Yeah.
Or you spend less and don't worry if it breaks within a year. You guys fall down on either one of those sides?
I mean, I grew up with my dad shooting Nikon Pro lenses. They last forever. So, I mean, I'm very big on putting up the money beforehand for something that is well built and that is meant to last forever. I don't want to have to keep on purchasing the same thing over and over and over again.
I couldn't agree with you more. That is a solid piece of advice, especially with lenses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lenses are your wife and cameras are your mistress, and you never trade in your mistress for your wife when people are asking whether or not they should switch from Nikon to Canon or Canon to Nikon. But I mean, lenses that's what locks you into a system. And that's what I just think also brings you into a system is the available lenses and whether or not they have a line that, is going to cover your needs.
Not as solid argument as it used to be, though, because the mirrorless cameras and adapters, you have a lot of people who are like diehard Nikon, Canon, whatever, and all of a sudden they're shooting with another brand with adapters, and they kept all their old lenses with limitations.
I mean, I do that. I mean, I have the A7 and I have the photodiox adapter, and I use that sometimes, but it's still not gonna, like, if I need something that I need speed and reliability, and I'm going to use my Canon camera.
The prime systems.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just, it is what it is. I mean, and I love shooting with the A7. I have the 24 to 70 f4 Zeiss lens. And that's great. If I just want something like if I'm going to a Mets game, I don't want to deal with my big camera. I'll bring that and still get, very good image quality out of it. But I'm not going to, I mean, if you're going to adapt the lenses, I think speed is an issue. The amount of time you have to shoot is definitely an issue because it's going to slow everything down a little bit. I mean, even with the newer Metabones adapters, they are much faster, especially the A7R2 with the newer Metabones adapter and the Canon lenses. It's very, very quick. I still feel compelled to, in instances where speed is critical and accuracy is critical, to use my Canon system.
Yes.
Absolutely. Third party has its limitations.
Yeah.
It's not perfect yet. It has possibilities, but it's not perfect.
I will be interested to see how well the Sigma MC11 works with the Canon EF and their Sigma mount lenses, to see whether or not their full frame global line lenses really will act as if they were natively meant for an E-mount camera.
It'll be a coup for them if it is.
If it is, that'd be amazing.
Yeah.
Can you fill me in, because I'm kind of curious about the Sigma series, and this is a new adapter that's coming out?
They're still on pre-order, so they haven't been released yet. But Sigma has made an adapter for their global series lenses, which are the art lenses, contemporary, and sport. I don't think it'll work with the lenses that are before that series.
Right.
And it's for the Canon EF mount Sigma lenses and for their Sigma mount lenses
Same mount.
to adapt on E-mount cameras. And supposedly it should make the lens act as if it was natively made for an E-mount camera. So now you have all these DSLR lenses that people have been asking, when are they going to make it an E-mount? When are they going to make this in an E-mount?
It's crazy the way E-mount has just
Yeah.
shifted the world's viewpoint a little. Yeah.
Darn you, Sony.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you can use all these Sigma DSLR lenses now on the Sony E-mount, and hopefully with a better integration than if you're using a third-party adapter with a third-party lens on a
With
Sony
all the
camera.
little hiccups in it.
So not for the sake of our conversation and not to show your hand just yet, but if your camera of choice would be an interchangeable lens camera, would you go zoom or prime?
Oh, I go prime.
Alan?
Prime.
Wow.
That's all I own. Yeah. I'm already there.
What about like convenience factors, like things like touchscreen and Wi-Fi? Do those things come into play when you're thinking about the one camera you might have?
If a camera has a touchscreen, great. I would probably turn it off for a lot of the time because, shooting with hopefully has a viewfinder, shooting with a viewfinder, I'm not wanting to have the touchscreen come into play with just putting it up to your face.
Right.
My nose changes the settings every
And
time.
also,
Every time.
and also thinking about low light photography, having a viewfinder helps because you have that third point of contact, which makes it so much easier to hold the camera in low light.
Yes.
Which also, I think having a camera with interchangeable lenses is great for low light because having something that's a little bit heavier is a lot easier to hold still.
I have a good
than-
friend. He swears by he's shooting with Nikon DA10 actually, and I show up with my Sony A7R with the little tiny little lens on it, and I laugh at him, but he wouldn't trade with me. He needs the mass and weight. To him that makes the camera, and I used to be that way. I've come about. I just don't like carrying weight around. But I know him and a lot of other people know they still want to lift something that is massive. They want a brick.
I tend to agree with that.
Yeah. It's not an unusual thing, and that's fine. That's fine.
And Wi-Fi and connectivity, much of an issue?
I don't think it's a deal breaker. I mean, if a camera has it, great, but I'm not going to go for a camera simply because it has Wi-Fi or some sort of connectivity.
That's been my experience too. Yeah.
I used to feel like that. I love having the Wi-Fi on the camera. That is the coolest little thing.
But if it was the difference between you taking out your 5D Mark III or another camera because of Wi-Fi,
Oh yeah, no. But like, you're gonna
Are
go
you crazy?
Yeah, obviously. But I love that it has. Like, if I'm gonna get a new camera, a DSLR aside, either a mirrorless
Yeah.
or something smaller than a mirrorless, Wi-Fi is 100%.
You're going to
On
look for
board.
what? Yeah.
No, I love that.
And you mentioned viewfinder. So is that viewfinder a deal breaker? You need a viewfinder?
yes, I prefer being able to shoot with a viewfinder. It's not
Optical
even,
versus electronic to make a difference?
I mean, I prefer optical, but some of the Sony cameras that are coming out, I mean, their viewfinders are starting to get to the point where you don't see the sort of the feedback and it doesn't take, I mean, they're
They're remarkable. They really are.
And then you also are getting a better sense of what your exposure is looking like, because you have all the information you can have in the viewfinder. So if it's a electronic viewfinder that doesn't have that lag, then I mean, I don't care if it's electronic or optical. But I find being able to hold the camera up to my face. I mean, one, just to be able to compose a shot, but two, just also how many stops that probably gives me, and being able to hold my camera and the stability.
You mentioned the over-under exposure. I know one of the things I've been doing lately is when I'm shooting with mirrorless cameras with electronic finders, which I hated for the longest time. And then once they got over 1 million dots in resolution at 920, they were good. And now they're phenomenal. I find myself quite often when I'm taking pictures through the finder, I have my thumb on the exposure compensation dial. And just before I'm ready to go, I'll rock it back for 1 or 2 clicks to make it a little lighter, a little darker, just to preview it and see where it really should be. I mean, the camera says this is the correct exposure, but it may not be the best exposure. And I really love that override to be able to see what's going on in the finders. That's a huge boost for electronics, no two ways about it.
I think which also goes back to being able to have some sort of manual control. Because just because my camera thinks it's the right exposure, doesn't mean my camera's right.
Of course not.
Right.
But yeah. Back to the viewfinder thing. For a while, in let's say 5-10 years ago, I was shooting the Canon G series cameras, and I loved having the flip out LCD. And I actually changed the way I shot. I would use the strap against my neck for stability and shoot from my waist, and a lot of street photography type of stuff. And I couldn't live without that for several years. And now I'm back to DSLRs more and using my eye. And then when the D750 came out, I thought, oh well, I have the best of both worlds, I'll have it. But I never ever use the LCD on my DSLR,
I went back to flash powder.
You did?
Yeah, just for impact.
Okay.
And I guess with the flip out LCD, maybe it's just I'm at the point where I'm getting old, that this new technology, I'm like, what do you do with it? But I guess I grew up, either you're getting down on the ground or you're finding something to climb up on. So for me, it's never been a deal breaker about whether or not you can see what you're shooting if you throw it over your head or hold it down low.
I can do without it, but I prefer it. I make good use of that. I happen to like shooting from bizarre angles, and I love the fact that sometimes it just gives me that little bit of an extra edge to get that camera I want it to be, to get the shot I need.
For me, it was really more for being stealth in the street, kind of having it down there, glancing at it, and making my shot without having to pull the camera to the eye and letting everybody know I was shooting. That kind of became that was my excuse anyway.
Some years ago, one of the most popular point-and-shoot cameras ever made was a Yashica T4 Super. It was like the size of a bar of soap, and it was black or gray, and it had a 35mm lens with 38. That was actually designed by Leica. And the camera had a little waist-level finder. You could actually hold it and just sort of glance down around a corner. And this was a $168 camera that took magnificent photographs, real accurate focus and good resolution, and had a waist-level finder on it, which was really wondrous. You could either hold it to your eye or just hold it down and be a little more discreet. And that was a great, great machine. Okay, we're going to take another break. When we come back, we're going to find out the one camera that everybody in this room would take with them if they only had one camera.
If you'd like to reach out to us with your questions or comments, email us at podcast@bhphoto.com.
Okay, we are back. So I'm going to talk right now about what camera each of us would take. So now we're going to have to lay it all bare and just make a choice and live with it now.
Explain your choice a little bit.
Yeah, and explain why.
Well, I'll go first. I think my choice is probably the least interesting, but just to run you through it, I used to always shoot the Canon G series, and I loved those cameras, and I guess 4 years ago, I would have said a G1X or the G16 or something like that, partly because I loved the fold-out LCD that I could use from waist level. But I've kind of grown tired of those. If budget wasn't an option, maybe the Leica M monochrome. But if I had to choose, I would go with what I have, which is the Nikon D750 with a 35mm lens. I'll leave it at that.
That works. Right. That works. Andrea?
I wanted to go with my Canon, but I didn't. And I was stressing over which lens to pick to go pair with this, and I said screw it and went with the Fuji X100T. If it was the X100, I would not have said that because it was much slower. But I've had all 3 iterations of it because clearly I'm in love with this camera.
That's the S.
Yeah.
The 100, the 100S,
and the 100T. I
Right.
just have the T now, and it's the fastest one of the bunch, obviously. But I've limited myself to that camera on vacations before. Like I've left everything home. I only took one, but I love the simplicity of it. I love that it has the more mechanical operation. So it's similar to what the experience I get with my DSLR. I love the hybrid viewfinder, which is fantastic because you can put all the little digital things in there, and you can see exactly everything you need to see, all your information right in that viewfinder. And then if it's dark out, you just switch it over to electronic. Yeah. So. And it's beautiful. Like the JPEGs are clean.
You have no interest in shooting zoom, so it doesn't even come to your eye necessarily, or you just walk closer, like you said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got feet. They
You got
work.
feet. They
We're
work.
good.
There you go.
It's a beautiful
All right.
thing.
Yeah.
And in terms of it's, how do I say it? It's a tough enough camera. Its durability is okay.
If it can survive in my purse for as long as it does without any sort of covering on it, no body case, it's just getting thrown in there with my keys and like every other thing. It's a metal body. It's not.
Yeah.
I mean, if I smash the lens, I'm going to smash the lens. But
We suggest a UV protective filter in this case.
yeah, probably like the hood, all kinds of things that you should have. Don't just throw it in your purse.
We suggest you don't actually treat cameras the way we do.
Yeah,
Yeah,
probably
yeah.
not a good idea.
That is a good idea.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel that you need to treat the camera the way you live your life.
Every tarnish mark.
Yeah, and you want the camera there, ready for you when you need it, and that has to incorporate into the way you live your life. So if you beat it up, you beat it up. That's life. I mean, that's the way I look at that. Anyway, I know a lot of people don't agree with that here, but oh well. Christina?
I mean, one of my favorite cameras to ever shoot was my AE1, simply because I guess my gut, I just think a camera should be a box that holds film that you put a lens on. But if this is one camera for the rest of my life,
Before you get there, sorry to interrupt, we didn't talk too much about film, but what film stock would you use if there was one and only one choice?
I would probably just go with Tri-X. I mean, it's a fairly fine grain, sharp film, and also it's really forgiving in
it
a
is.
darkroom. So you can play around with a fixed exposure. I mean, other films out there that are probably prettier, but definitely if your exposure is off just the slightest bit, I mean, you don't have anything.
And there's something comforting about those little yellow boxes.
Yes, very comforting. It makes me,
Yes.
makes me think of back, learning how to shoot and spending hours.
Schlepping.
Yeah, schlepping.
Schlepping dad's cases around. Yes, brings back
So-
fond memories.
No, my dad was a Fuji man. So
Oh, okay.
Is he still shooting? Is he still with us? Your dad?
yeah, he
He's still
does.
shooting, yeah.
Still shooting, some sports, and like every other professional photographer, now has to shoot some weddings as well.
Yeah,
But,
all digital now. He's a
Oh
digital
yeah.
shooter.
Actually, it's funny, when he was shooting for Boating Life, he bought one of Nikon's first digital cameras. I think it was like the D1 or the D1X.
Yes.
And he had to. I mean, when we went on an assignment, he brought his film cameras also, but he also brought the D1X, and he had to fight to get them to start accepting digital files. And now
It was uphill back then. Yeah.
and now they won't accept anything that's film. If
Right.
you have film, it's
They look
Who are
at
you?
you like, what? Where you been? Yeah.
yeah. So he jumped on that bandwagon early simply because he was thinking about processing fees, and then also how easy it is just to be able to submit it to your clients.
And the excitement of taking 47 minutes to download 1 gig of data, that was also worth it.
I think digital was one of the worst things that ever happened to me, because I knew, if my dad was taking photos, it was one more shot, and I could ask him, okay, how many rolls of film do you have in your bag? And that was how much longer we were going to be. But now with digital, there's no more,
Oh, yeah. When the caterer throws you out, that's when it's over.
Yeah. This is one camera forever, and thinking of just how hard it can be to get access to a darkroom, as much as I love spending time in a darkroom. I mean, part of me wants to go with one of the Sony A7 cameras. I never thought I would say Sony, but they make it really hard to dislike them.
Are you feeling okay?
The size and portability on top of, Sony is coming out with actually some really, really nice glass in the
Yes.
Zeiss glass. Yes, I am feeling okay.
Are you sure?
But when I really think about it, I think one of my favorite digital cameras I've ever shot with was the D700. It's just a camera.
Yeah.
That is all there is to it. So I think I'd probably still choose the D700. Even if you want to blow up your images really large, you can still upsize your files. It's not that big of a deal.
And what lens?
Probably the 24-1.4. Like Andrea said, if you want to zoom, you can always walk a little bit closer. It's really hard to walk a little bit further back in tighter spaces.
Yeah. But that's an interesting choice. I know a lot of guys and women that still shoot the D700, and it's almost like the digital workhorse camera to some degree that has really stuck around.
And that thing, I think my dad probably had 300,000 shutter actuations on his before he had to have the shutter replaced. And, it's rated for 200,000, but still 300,000 shutter actuations.
And now is it one wedding?
Yes, which I got to edit afterwards.
What's interesting? Every answer we've had so far has to do with how the camera feels and how you relate to the machine, and had very little to do with a lot of the parameters we were discussing.
Yeah, we didn't talk about too much about just general feel.
Yeah, which is always, when people come to me, it's such as, should I buy Nikon or Canon? That's such a standard question. And no matter whether it's throwing point and shoot DSLR, I always say, go into the store and pick the camera up and turn it on, look through the finder, look at the menus, hold it in your hand, and it has to have a good tactile feel to it. It has to feel intuitive to you, and we all react differently to different things, and we're all going to be attracted to one camera or the other for personal reasons. And every answer we've had so far has to do with a lot of just how the camera, how it resonates with you. And that, I think, is really significant. The other thing I noticed is that one camera series that has not been mentioned at all here, the little Sony RX100 series camera, which everybody loves and swears by. It's changed how we define point and shoot. And I might be wrong, but I think everybody in this room has owned at least one of them at some point in time. I've owned two of them. No, you haven't? No. Don't admit it. Okay. Yeah, okay. Well, except for everybody in this room, no, anybody who's owned them will tell you that they're just wonderful. And the sensor that's in it is being used in a lot of other manufacturers' cameras with almost the same success. But Sony really nailed it with that. And that's one camera that has not come up in conversation. I had it on my list, and I realized no one's talking about it. And it's a perfect travel camera. Size, image quality, focal range, manual override, all the things we're talking about are there, and no one's mentioned it. I thought it's kind of interesting. As far as my own choices for cameras, I'm kind of torn. The two cameras that I would naturally go to, especially if money wasn't an object, I like the Leica Q. I'm a wide-angle shooter. In fact, 28 millimeter is tame for me. I prefer 21. But the Leica Q is phenomenal. I've used the camera. The image quality is startlingly beautiful. You can crop into it and still get very good pictures. And for the same reason, I like the Sony Cybershot, the RX1R2, which has that 42 megapixel sensor and a 35 millimeter f2 lens. If I want wider angle, I have the option of using the sweep panorama mode, which you have with a lot of these cameras. So that's a way of getting around wide angle if the lens itself isn't so wide. And here, too, I could really crop into it and go real far and pull out a good image. So if I need something longer than 35 millimeter focal length, I have it. And then regardless of which camera I would use, hidden in my baggage somewhere would be an Olympus Tough TG4. Just don't tell anybody.
No, not at all.
Wait a minute,
that's
is
our
that two
secret.
cameras?
But wait,
That
what's
was
the
like
one
3
camera?
cameras.
Yeah.
I said, don't tell anybody. I'm sticking this in my just.
Everyone can hear you.
No, this is between us. This won't never go live. This is between us.
Right.
Okay? I don't want to blow the storyline here. And at the end of the day, it's really a hard thing to choose not because there's no choices. There are so many good choices. And again, it comes down to everyone in this room has a different set of parameters and needs and requirements, and our answers reflect that. And every single answer we had here is perfectly
Am I missing
valid.
something, though? Am I missing something? You haven't given the one camera.
I told you, I'm not decided yet. Okay, if I had to go with one, okay, and money's no, okay, I'm taking the Leica Q. There, I said it. But maybe the
Lead us
Sony
on.
RX
All right. No. Outro us after the like cue.
Okay, so there you have it. I doubt if we answered anybody's specific question as far as, and no one's going to walk away from this podcast saying, okay, now I know what I'm doing. But hopefully we've given you a lot of food for thought. And the bottom line is follow your gut feeling, because chances are that's what's accurate. Thank you, Christina. Thank you, Andrea. Thank you, John and Jason, our producers. This has been a wonderful show. Give us your opinions on Twitter at BH Photo Video with the hashtag BH Photo Podcast. And please rate and leave a review on iTunes. My name is Alan Weitz, and as usual, thank you so much for joining us today.